April 3, 2023. Internal bureau logs record a remote login at 2:09 a.m. from a user ID long deactivated. The name, M. Low. The session lasts exactly 11 minutes. No files downloaded. No footage viewed. But the archive registry now shows one entry modified. The file? The original surveillance video of Claire Bennett's last known interview. When techs compare the two copies, there's a difference. In the original, Claire's eyes remain fixed forward. In the modified version, she looks directly at the camera and smiles. April 4th. Two members of the forensic team report identical dreams. They're standing in the interview room, but the chair is empty. The mirror is gone. Instead, the walls are made entirely of screens, looping all their past investigations played in reverse. And in every frame, just out of focus, is a woman watching them. Sometimes it's Claire. Sometimes it's Miriam. Sometimes it's someone else entirely. No face, just the outline, but always watching, always waiting. The dreams stop when the team is removed from rotation, but the audio logs remain. On April 6th, a new recording appears, uploaded from an offline recorder. It's a voice, soft, calm, familiar. It's Agent Miriam Low. "I thought I was observing the archive," she says, "but I was the footage. I was the loop. Claire was the observer. And someone else made the cut." The file ends with a single static burst. And beneath the waveform, embedded in metadata, are the words, "Tag in." April 8th. Claire Bennett disappears from her room. No signs of exit. No doors triggered. The mirror is still in place. But now her chair is empty, and across the room, a new figure sits, back straight, hands folded, wearing a bureau tactical jacket, wearing wire-rimmed glasses. It's Agent Miriam Low. Eyes open, unblinking, silent, a loop reestablished. April 9th. The glass cracks slightly, not from the outside, from within, and a second chair appears in the reflection. Empty, waiting. Final recorded statement. Filed by Acting Director Elston. 3:04 a.m. Until we know who's in the footage, we cannot assume who's in the room. We're watching the tapes, but the archive may be watching us back. We end this transmission here, but the case remains open. April 11th. Surveillance servers pick up a motion alert in Sector 6, an area that's been sealed since the Bennett footage breach. The timestamp matches precisely with the moment Claire's empty chair was first observed. When analysts review the file, something is wrong. The motion isn't on camera. It's behind it. A shadow crosses the lens, but never touches the frame. Playback freezes at 3:33 and 13 seconds a.m. And for a single frame, a reflection appears. Not on the mirror, on the glass of the lens itself. A woman's face, mouth open, screaming, but no sound is recorded. That same morning, a package arrives at Bureau HQ. No return address, no postage. Inside, a single VHS tape, labeled in smudged black marker. Day 1. No context, no initials. The tape is placed under quarantine, but an unauthorized scan reveals it matches magnetic signature formats last seen in 1994. The year Claire Bennett was born. Forensic analysis halts when one technician collapses mid-transfer. Witnesses say his last words were, "She's still watching, even now." April 12th. Victor Haynes is brought in again. The tech analyst who first recovered the archive access logs. He hasn't spoken in weeks. But as the tape is queued up in a secure playback room, Victor finally says something. He doesn't look at the screen. He just says, "You're not supposed to rewind it." That's when she changes. The tape begins to play anyway. First it's static. Then an old interview room, outdated chairs, a wall clock ticking loud. A baby cries in the distance. But the room is empty, until suddenly, Claire walks in. Not as she was in 2023, as a child, 7, maybe 8 years old, wearing the same soft beige sweater she was found in. She looks straight into the camera and mouths the words, "You saw me." Then the tape ends. Except it doesn't. Every system goes dark for 11 seconds. When they reboot, the timestamp on the building's internal logs is changed. It now reads, April 11th, 1994. The system refuses to update. April 13th. Dr. Evelyn Sartre is called in for a psych evaluation. She reviews the tape, notes signs of childhood trauma, deep-seated dissociative states, possibly induced through early institutionalization. But then she stops, freezes the frame, zooms in. On the far corner of the room in the tape, a reflection in the interview glass. A man, white hair, a lab coat, watching. Sartre quietly confirms. It's a near match for Bureau records. Dr. Reuben Ashcroft, officially pronounced dead in 1999. Unofficially, one of the architects of early behavioral analysis tech that would later evolve into the archive. His project name? Loop Theory. April 14th. The archive goes offline. No power outage. No breach. Just silence. When backup protocols boot 44 minutes later, one terminal auto-displays an open transcript. Only 4 lines. 01. Who is watching? 02. Who was recorded? 03. Who gave permission? 04. Who pressed play? Then the system logs out. Under a new user ID. Seat B.9426. Which doesn't match Claire Bennett's file number, but does match an old incident tag from the 1994 records purge. Case file missing. Incident. Unauthorized child interview. Subject vanished. April 15th. The cracked mirror in Claire's room fully shatters. Not from force, from pressure. Internal glass folds inward, as though something pulled from the other side. Security teams find no one inside, but the reflection remains intact on all security monitors. Still showing the room, still showing the empty chair, and the 2 women now seated in it. Side by side, one is Claire, the other is Agent Miriam Lowe, both staring forward, unmoving, and then, a third figure begins to form between them. Unclear, smudged, but growing sharper, facial features building, as if they're being remembered from footage that hasn't been recorded yet. Then the feed cuts to black, and a message flashes for 2 seconds before deletion. Next subject ready. Please confirm observer. The Bureau halts all casework. The archive is sealed, but the footage is still playing. Somewhere. April 16th. A final internal memo circulates at Bureau Level 5. Clearance. Eyes only. Subject. Operation Echo Loop. Termination request. The memo outlines one goal: cease all investigation into Claire Bennett, the archive, and any research attached to Dr. Reuben Ashcroft's legacy. It isn't signed. No originating department. It arrives via pneumatic tube. An obsolete system retired in 2003. Agent Miriam Lowe is placed on indefinite administrative leave. Officially, exhaustion. Unofficially, she hasn't spoken in days. But she has been seen late at night, walking the corridors of the Bureau's lower levels, alone. Whispers among staff say she's searching for something or someone. April 17th. The final surveillance footage of Miriam is pulled from an off-network terminal. No one knows who requested it. It shows her entering interview room C, the same one from the 1994 tape. She closes the door, stares into the one-way glass, then tilts her head as if listening. 32 seconds later, the feed distorts. A shadow forms behind her. A woman. Same height, same build, same wire-rimmed glasses, but inverted, as if mirrored. Miriam never moves. She doesn't scream. She simply nods, and the figure steps forward. Then the footage loops, over and over. Only this time, it's not just Miriam in the room. It's Claire too. She's seated at the table. Older now, paler, but she turns to the camera with recognition, and mouths the words, "Now do you believe me?" That morning, Claire Bennett's case file is permanently locked. Miriam Lowe's badge is deactivated. Her apartment is found abandoned, but untouched. A VHS tape sits on her kitchen counter, labeled simply, "Observe." It is collected, reviewed, sealed, contents unknown. But the final note in her case file, added by an unknown author, reads, "There is no video. There never was. Only a reflection." And so ends the case of Claire Bennett. Unresolved, unexplained, unbelieved until it was too late. What began as a missing person case became something else entirely. A story buried in forgotten interviews, corrupted footage, and reflections that shouldn't move. The Bureau has closed its file. The archive has gone dark. But ask yourself, when you turn off the screen and glance at your reflection, are you the one watching, or are you the one being watched? Because the moment you press play, the loop begins again. April 18th. The Bureau issues a final report on Claire Bennett. Official cause of disappearance: psychological breakdown compounded by prolonged trauma. Unofficially, no one talks about her anymore. Miriam Lowe never returned to active duty. After her unexplained departure from the Bureau building, she was found 2 days later, dazed, barefoot, walking along a remote stretch of highway in upstate New York. Her clothes were soaked. Her lips were cracked. But she was alive, and she was speaking again. 6 hours of interviews followed. Miriam recounted the truth, or at least what she believed was the truth. She said Claire had never disappeared. Not in the way the Bureau understood. That Claire was caught between recordings, a kind of digital purgatory embedded within corrupted footage, surveillance loops, and forgotten tapes. She described the archive as a mirror that forgets nothing. A place that remembered you even after the world did not. She said the video wasn't haunted. It wasn't paranormal. It was intentional, engineered, and that the person behind it was Dr. Reuben Ashcroft, the man whose research into neural reflections and recorded memory had been shut down in 1995. The man who vanished the same year as Claire. For the first time, the Bureau took her seriously. They reopened Ashcroft's vault. Within it, they found thousands of hours of footage, stacked neatly, labeled, ordered. At the center, a reel labeled, Claire, primary subject. Inside, timestamps that matched the exact dates of Claire's reported sightings, including the final one, where she appeared in the interrogation room with Miriam. Only this time, the footage didn't glitch. Played clean. No loops. No distortions. Claire sits at the table. She breathes. She blinks. She speaks. Clearly. Calmly. "I was never gone," she says. "I was recorded." She goes on to describe the process. That Ashcroft's project was an experiment in cognitive continuity. That by recording a person's every move, sound, breath, it became possible to simulate them. Not an AI, not a ghost, but an echo, a version of the self that lived only on tape, bound by whatever the lens had captured. Claire had been the test subject, but she wasn't alone. Miriam watches the tape in full. No edits, no cuts. At the end of the footage, Claire turns toward the camera and smiles. Not eerily, but sadly. "Delete me," she says. "Please." And so they do. The entire archive is purged. Every tape, every backup, erased, securely, permanently. The Bureau shuts the case once and for all. Claire Bennett is declared deceased. Dr. Ashcroft's experiments are classified under obsolete tech policy. And Miriam Lowe is cleared for return. But she chooses not to go back. Instead, she retires. Quietly, she moves to a small town near Lake Ontario. No one hears from her again. But when a journalist from a local paper follows up years later, the librarian at the town's archive mentions something strange. A woman, matching Miriam's description, had donated a single item, a VHS tape. No label, no markings. But when they played it, it was blank, completely black, except for a single frame. At 1 hour, 23 minutes, and 7 seconds, a woman's face, hazel eyes, tousled hair, wearing a beige sweater, just long enough to blink, then gone. The tape was lost in a fire 2 weeks later, 'cause undetermined. But the story ends here. No loops, no glitches, no reflections that move on their own. Just a question. How many of us are captured by the things we leave behind? In photos, in surveillance, in memory, And once the record begins, who decides when it stops? Claire Bennett's story is over. And this time, stays that way. For more chilling true crime stories, subscribe to this channel.